In this class we're going to look at the Curriculum Vitae, the CV. Now this is a very important document for everyone seeking good and professional careers. So the points that we're going to make in the class may seem obvious and straightforward, but they're worth noting, and it's worth looking at the various points made. So let's start by saying a CV is a working document which portrays a brief account of your career. It's a working document. It's constantly evolving. As you get more experience and more qualifications, your CV develops. So it's not a static document prepared at one point in time, one point in your life. This is a working document that's constantly evolving. The aim of a CV is to catch the eye of the reader. Therefore, a CV should be well thought through and should present to you in a positive light. So it's important that the CV looks professional, and it should be efficient in producing the information about you, because this is a statement about you as a person. A CV provides opportunities to advertise yourself, show off your skills, achievements and experience. But remember, it's important to be honest. When you talk about your experiences, be honest about your experiences. Don't exaggerate. Don't add to the experiences. Don't contrive stories. It's important to be honest. All the way through the CV, honesty prevails. Now, when should a CV be used? Well, a CV should be used when an employer requests one. When an employer requests a CV for application purposes, that's when a CV should be used. Sometimes the employer may have their own application form, in which case a CV is not required. The application form is what must be filled out. But sometimes the employer asks for a CV as well. A CV is appropriate when an employer does not specify the format, or if there is no application form to complete. So it's important to have a CV ready. It's an important document that should always be ready, and always ready. You should be always ready to produce it. A CV is appropriate when making a speculative application as well. This is when there is no job vacancy advertised. However, a CV may be sent in the hope that it catches the eye of a recruiter. So there may not be a job advertised in a particular company, but students and applicants may send a CV in the hope that someone within the HR department, from the Human Resources department, will like the application, will like the CV, and will find an appropriate job. So it's speculative, but it may work. And this is a technique that's often used. Now, writing a good CV, well, a CV template depends on the type of job and the sector and the recruiter. So don't just have one type of CV in your arsenal. Don't have just one in the folder. Have different sets of CVs, different designs aimed at different markets. And if you're particularly keen on working in one particular sector, let's say in the tourism sector or the hotel sector or engineering sector, whatever, if you've got your eye on one particular sector, then it is possible to focus your CV on that sector, and therefore it cuts down on holding many different forms of CV, many different types of CV. Now, it's also important to note that recruiters will vary according to what they want in a CV. Some will want a lot of emphasis on your qualifications and what you did and what experiences you gained from getting those qualifications. Some will look at your skills and say, well, what is it you can do, or what are you particularly interested in, or what's your experience? Have you worked? Have you any experience of the job market? So recruiters are not homogeneous. They do vary, and it's important to recognize this. But if it's a job that's advertised, a position that's advertised, you can often work out from the type of sector and the type of company it is. When you've done your research into the company as a part of your preparation for applying to the company, it will give you some background on the type of CV that's appropriate. Overall, a CV should always be neat and tidy, and it should be easy to read. A recruiter should be able to scan through your CV and gain an insight into you as a person and how you can benefit their organization. So a CV should not be difficult to read, and it should be well presented. It should be very professional, and it shouldn't be too long, perhaps a page, 1 page of A4 or 2 pages maximum. Do not have a long CV, because the people reading it are busy people. They have perhaps many applications to look at, and they want an efficient CV that's to the point. So don't submit long documents, but make sure it's a very tidy and well presented CV. Now, a good CV should always specify, be specific, I should say, to the job or career. Always try to target the CV at the particular job that's advertised. Don't submit a general CV, because it looks like it's a lazy application. Do some research into the job, into the company, into the type of career that's being advertised, and try to amend the CV so it's targeted at that, and the person reading it will realize you have made effort to try and target what they want. So a targeted CV provides an opportunity to effectively express your skills, your experience and your qualifications, and to relate those to the job that's been advertised. It should be clearly laid out. As I said, no more than 2 pages. It should be easy to read and follows a logical structure. All the qualifications in one part, all the experiences in another part, hobbies in another part. So it's logical, but it's well laid out, nicely spaced, well presented. Many of the Office computing packages, not just the Microsoft one, but there are other Office packages available. Some of them are free to download. Many of them have templates for CVs, and some of these templates are excellent and well worth considering. They will help you immensely in structuring your CV and getting a professional feel to it. The content of a CV must always be accurate, informative, but concise. So accuracy, information, and efficiency. So you're putting across information efficiently. It's concise, and it's accurate, it's honest, and it can be backed up. You can prove everything you're saying. Now, the contents of the CV. Well, the CV usually contains the following contents. Some personal details. You should include your address, your telephone number, your email, or any other form of contact. And it should be displayed at the top of your CV. So it should be right at the start. This is how to contact me, this is where I live, this is my telephone number, and so on. So well structured at the top, personal details. Then a personal statement. You have an opportunity to provide a brief statement about yourself. What sort of person are you, and why are you appropriate for this particular job? So it enables the recruiter to gain an insight into you as an individual. But it's not a big insight, because you must not spend a lot of words here. This has to be an efficient application. So it's important that you sit down with your friends and your colleagues and your family and write this many times to try and get the words so it's efficient. It's describing you efficiently in perhaps a couple of brief paragraphs. Now, I realize it's very difficult to do, but that's what's required. It's required to set out the sort of person you are. You're efficient, you're a good timekeeper, you are interested in this particular career. Now, put it into words and make it into a couple of paragraphs so it hits the requirements precisely. And then list your education. What have you done in terms of education over the years? What have you achieved? What are you particularly strong at? Perhaps at school, were you good at mathematics or science, or were you good at communications, or what interested you? And why are the qualifications that you got appropriate for the job being advertised here? And what are you currently doing as well? Are you doing anything to promote yourself at the moment, to add to your skills or add to your qualifications? Now, you could have work experience. So list the work experience that you've got as well. What sort of jobs have you done? It doesn't matter the level of the job for some applications. If you're starting your career, then it's to be expected you've had a variety of experiences. Perhaps very low-level skilled jobs, but you have tried and you've made an effort and you've been successful in what you've done, and you're being honest about your application. Now, the recruiter can't expect more than that. So look at your whole range of experiences and list out all the jobs you've had. If you haven't had many, be honest. If you had one and it was a low-level skill job, delivering for a local shop or something of that nature, list it. But also state how long you did it, what your job title was, what were you doing exactly, who was the employer, what was your responsibility, and how long did you do it for? So that's an indication of how successful you were at doing the job. So honesty rules the day. Look at your achievements as well. What skills and achievements have you picked up from your previous employments? What can you do very well? And explain how any skills you've got or any achievements you got in the past, and any achievements that you accomplished in the past, how can they be transferred to promote the application you're making at the moment? How can they be used in the job you're applying for? So if you've picked up transferable skills such as working with computers and being able to use a spreadsheet or being able to use PowerPoint or whatever it is, can that be used to promote your application for the present job? So look at your achievements and look at your skills and see how they can be used to promote your present application. And what hobbies and interests have you got? Discuss your hobbies and interests very briefly, but if you play football or cricket or something of that nature, you play in a team. Were you the captain of the team? Or how important are you in the team? And what did you organise as a part of your hobbies? Did you organise functions for the team, or Did you organise fixtures, or what did you do as a part of the team? Or are your hobbies more solitary? Do you read? Do you like to go to the library and do some research into particular areas, and you want to advance your own knowledge in certain areas? So what exactly are your interests? And get references. You need 2 references, generally speaking. They could be from previous employers. Ask them to recommend you because you worked for them in the past, and if they were happy with having you working for them in the past, they may be willing to write a reference for you. Or there could be academic references. Generally speaking nowadays, academic references are transcripts of your performance. So if you have got a good performance with the college in different modules and have good grades, a transcript will support that. You haven't completed your qualification perhaps, but you're working towards it, and there is a transcript, a running transcript in the college showing how you're doing at the moment. And that could be used as a part of the reference. Now, as a sample, well, look at the activity. Research CV examples online. So that's an activity. Just go online and see if you can find examples of CVs. As I said, there are templates associated with many of the Office packages. Microsoft, for example, have a very good template or set of templates on what they call resumes, what we call CV. So write down your own CV. As I said, use a Word template or other template source, and produce a general CV, one that applies to any occupation. So you've got a very general one. And then look at a CV suitable for education purposes. For example, applying for an undergraduate degree. So write a CV that's suitable for an application to a university. And this means it's becoming more specific. The general one is a general picture of you, which is good to have on record because that can help you to be more specific later on. When you require one for a particular job or a particular career, you're able to take the general CV and customize it. But also have one suitable for education purposes, because coming off a HND, you may be willing to go on to an undergraduate program, and you may need a CV for the application purpose, so do one now. There are also electronic CVs. Research CVs online. Look at, write down your own CV, use a Word template or other source, and try to, as I said, get suitable ones for education, a suitable one for general purposes, and research it online and match what you're doing, what you're putting on paper and what you've got as an electronic form of your CV. Match that with the examples that you can find online. The internet is providing many opportunities for recruiters and job seekers. In fact, the internet is now one of the main portals for recruitment. So you should be familiar with how to make applications online, and you should also be familiar with looking at submitting CVs online and the process of doing that. So with your group or with colleagues or family, check out how electronic CVs operate. They're essentially forms that you complete. It's very easy to post job vacancies online, so companies do it extensively. So if you're interested in a particular job in a particular company, the best route is to go to the company website and see if there are any jobs advertised on the company website, or if there are any links posted which will indicate what sort of recruitment exercise they're going through at the moment. Job seekers can upload their CVs online and send their CVs to a range of recruiters. So it's becoming much more electronic, the whole process of getting a job. But it's much more efficient. So having your CV sorted and having it electronically available, get it on paper as well so you can make amendments as you think about them, and you haven't got the computer turned on, you can simply make annotations to it, and when you go back onto the computer, update your electronic form, but have it ready so that if there is an opportunity by looking at the companies that you're interested in, if there's an opportunity to make an application, you have a good CV ready to send to them. There are website CVs. Sometimes the companies, when you click on the link, it opens up essentially a form for you to fill out, which replaces your CV. It asks essentially the same questions and you type out. But if you've got an electronic form already, without cutting and pasting, just by looking at what you've got and looking at the company and the type of company it is, it may be easier to base it on the generalized one that you worked on earlier and customize it as you type it out online. And then, having completed that exercise, just submit it. So that's website CVs. Another alternative is to apply using email and attach your CV. Again, the email should be very polite, very respectful. It should have a subject line which indicates it's a job application, so it goes to the right department, and it should be a dear sir / madam, please find enclosed or please find attached my CV in support of my application for this particular position as advertised by you. Thank you in anticipation, and give your name. And attach your CV and wait to see what happens. Now, a website CV, well, the internet has now become increasingly accessible to individuals. It's quick and easy to develop website CVs with the help of software tools. There are many support tools available online. But this does not replace what I was saying earlier. It's important for you to have your generalized electronic form of your CV available and carefully worked out well in advance, so you know what you want to say and you know the words that you want to use, because you have thought about this. It is not something you're going to do on the spur of the moment. You're not simply going to access a site and fill out your CV and send it away. The chances of being successful are very small in that case. It should have been well thought out in advance. Producing a website CV means that you're opening many doors of opportunities. Your CV is available worldwide and accessible to many recruiters. So the website CV is where you are positioning yourself on the web as someone who's got certain skills, and recruiters may go to the website CV, look at all of the people who have put their CV there, and then select from that set of individuals. And hopefully you will be one of them. But don't just look at the website CV if they issue their own template and fill it out, as I said, at the spur of the moment. Fill it out according to the words and the guidelines that you thought about in advance. So it's a very careful presentation. And then when it's on the website, leave it there and wait for recruiters to see it. But remember to update it as you get more experience and you get more qualifications. Go back and update your CV so that it's current. It must always be current. A website CV can be much more detailed compared to paper documents. A website CV can be more extensive. It can have links, for example. And as said here, if you're a photographer or an architect, you can provide samples of your work online. You might want to link it to an e-portfolio. E-portfolios have public sections that you can make available to people interested in you. And you may include images, pictures of your achievements from the past, perhaps products that you've helped to design or you've worked on. You can give background detail much easier using the website approach. So a paper CV is restricted, as I said, about 2 sides of A4, nothing more extensive than that. But on a website, the core can be quite small, but you can have links amplifying the points. If the recruiter really wants more information about your hobbies, click here and it'll show your achievements. It'll show what you won or what you did or what you participated in, or it'll give more information. It may give some pictures, or it may be a clip of video you've got that you may want to include. So the website is can be much more detailed because it has the capacity to have hyperlinks. Job seekers can advertise themselves much better using a website CV. However, there are some disadvantages of website CVs. Recruiters do not have the time to browse the internet looking for potential employees. It's highly unlikely that you will be approached by a recruiter who has stumbled across your online CV. Recruiters don't spend a lot of time sitting in the office just browsing the internet. So again, the onus is on you to find out what vacancies are there in the organization. Making an application specific to that particular position that's advertised, and perhaps indicating to them that in addition to the application you're making with your appended CV, there is also a website CV which contains links, and give them exactly the link in the email. So you just click on it and it'll open. You must not give the recruiters work to do. They're busy people, so assume that they don't have time. But if you just make it a link in your CV onto a website CV, that you've done the work for them, and they will respect you for that. And they may browse around, have a look at some of the material you've got there. It might be that you don't go to a website CV, you go to an e-portfolio, you click on it, but you tell them in advance. Further information is available on this e-portfolio. Click here for more information. And click, and it goes straight to your e-portfolio, and you can show material you want them to see. Videos, pictures, more detail. But again, make sure all of the information that you've got there has been carefully thought out. Ask your friends and your colleagues and your group and your family, and ask for support. Ask them to read it and criticize what you've done and make recommendations so that it's improved and you have a better chance of making a good impression because of their improvements, their recommendations. As I said, although a website CV can accommodate a paper CV by providing a link to your website, so the whole process can be hyperlinked if it's online, and that makes for a stronger application. Now, sending your CV online, well, enabling a CV, emailing a CV, I should say, to a potential employer is fast and efficient. It's more efficient than going through the post. So the application process is much shorter. But again, it's important for you to have the material worked out well in advance. Have the sentences you're going to use about yourself carefully worked out, and make sure that you are in a position to organize the material so that it is specific to the requirements as advertised by the employer. Online businesses such as Prospects, Monster Jobs, Reeds, these are UK mainly agencies, but online businesses such as these offer facilities to allow job seekers to upload a CV, which is then sent to many potential employers. So there are agencies who will ask for CVs as well, and the agencies will work on your behalf to try and get the job for you, to get the position for you. Clearly, of course, they're doing it for payment. They'll expect the employer to pay them, having found the right people for the position. But it's well worth looking at what agencies there are in your area or nationally, and seeing if you can upload your CV to them so that they may then pass it on to prospective employers in your area. The disadvantage associated with this method is that you are more vulnerable to online fraud. You must be mindful of who you are sending your CV to, as a CV is a very personal document and contains private information. So it's important that you are very careful about who you send your information to. You don't want to leave yourself vulnerable to online fraud. So the companies that you deal with should be reputable companies. They should be trustworthy. You don't want your details put on the internet and be used to damage you or to damage your family. Now, the importance of building a good impression. Well, first impressions count. If your CV comes across positive and you advertise your selling points, the recruiter is more likely to read through your CV. So how is the CV structured? How is it set out? What's the spacing? What font are you using? Don't use Comic Sans. Don't use gimmicks. Make it as professional as possible and seek advice, seek comment from other people to make it as professional as possible. First impressions count. Too much irrelevant information at the start of a CV can be seen as a weakness and may deter potential employers. Only include what's directly relevant. It'll shorten the CV, but that's a good thing. It makes it more efficient. And it's more likely to be read and checked over if it's short and to the point. So it must be relevant. A CV should display an honest account of your achievements and progress throughout the years. It should be honest. They will check. And don't list achievements or work experiences that are untrue. During the interview stage, you may be caught, in which case you will not get the position. Even if it's not caught during the interview stage, it may be caught later when you're working within the organization. So it's important to be absolutely honest in your application. Okay, that's the Curriculum Vitae, the online version, the paper version, the agencies that exist that may help you, the web type CV where you can post your CV and hopefully it'll be seen. the use of e-portfolios in promoting yourself, and the efficiency with which you go about structuring your applications and how you word and present your CV. All of these things are important, and you should work your way across this video several times, making notes of many of the points there, and do some research online. The whole purpose of engaging in business education is to get a good business career. At least that's the assumption that many people would make. So go across it again, make points, and be prepared to discuss these points, and spend time slowly but surely developing your CV. Get comments from friends and colleagues, and get criticisms. Don't ask for compliments, ask for what can be improved, because that's important. But that's all I'm going to do on this topic now, so I'm going to leave it at that and say thank you for watching.